Every food that actually helps with fat loss, explained simply. No fluff, no complicated science. Just what works, how much to eat, and why it matters. A whole egg has around 6 to 7 grams of protein. What makes eggs stand out is how well they control appetite. They also contain choline, a nutrient that supports metabolism and liver function, both important when you're trying to burn fat efficiently. The yolk is not the enemy. It carries most of the nutrition, including fat-soluble vitamins like a D. They're affordable, easy to prepare, and versatile enough to fit any meal. Scrambled, boiled, or as part of a bigger dish. Chicken breast. The most classic protein source in any fat loss diet, and for good reason. A 100-gram serving has around 31 grams of protein and very little fat, which means you get a high protein intake without adding many extra calories. Protein is the most important nutrient during fat loss because it preserves muscle while your body burns fat. Without enough protein, the weight you lose comes from both fat and muscle, which is not ideal. Chicken breast helps prevent that. It also has a high thermic effect, meaning your body burns more calories just to digest it compared to carbs or fats. That makes it even more efficient during a calorie deficit. The key is not to overthink the preparation. Season it simply, cook it in bochas if needed, and pair it with vegetables or a source of fiber to make it a complete meal. Grilled or baked versions are easy to fit into almost any eating routine. Salmon, a fatty fish that actually supports fat loss rather than working against it. A 100-gram portion delivers around 25 grams of protein alongside a significant amount of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA. These fats help reduce inflammation in the body, which matters more than most people realize. Chronic low-grade inflammation is often linked to difficulty losing fat, especially around the belly. Omega-3 South also improve insulin sensitivity, which means your body handles carbohydrates more efficiently and stores less as fat. Salmon is also rich in iodine and selenium, nutrients that support healthy thyroid function. The thyroid controls your metabolic rate, so keeping it working well is essential during any fat loss phase. 2 servings per week is a reasonable target for most people. It does not need to be complicated to prepare. A simple seasoning and 10 to 12 minutes in the oven is all it takes to make it a solid part of your weekly nutrition. Greek yogurt. A dairy product that earns its place in a fat loss diet because of how much protein it delivers relative to its calorie content. A 200-gram serving of plain full-fat Greek yogurt contains roughly 17 to 20 grams of protein, depending on the brand. That amount of protein in a snack is hard to beat. It also contains probiotics, which are beneficial bacteria that support gut health. A healthy gut microbiome is increasingly linked to better weight regulation and improved metabolism, though the mechanisms are still being studied. Greek yogurt is also a good source of calcium, which plays a role in fat metabolism and bone health. The key detail is to choose plain versions. Flavored Greek yogurts often contain added sugar that can work against your fat loss goals. If you need sweetness, a small amount of fruit or a drizzle of honey added at home is a better option. Eat it as a snack, a breakfast base, or a high-protein topping. Oats. One of the most underrated foods for fat loss because they work through a different mechanism than protein sources, including a specific type called beta-glucan. Beta-glucan forms a gel in your digestive system that slows down digestion significantly. Oats are also a good source of complex carbohydrates, which provide steady energy without the rapid fat storage that comes from refined carbs. Keep the preparation simple. Plain rolled oats cooked with water or milk, topped with protein-rich foods like Greek yogurt or eggs. 1 cooked cup has about 18 grams of protein and 15 grams of fiber, which is a significant amount for a plant-based food. When both are present in the same meal, hunger is suppressed for a long time. Lentils are also rich in complex carbohydrates with a low glycemic index, meaning they don't cause sharp blood sugar spikes. They're also affordable and have a long shelf life, which makes them practical for regular use. A cup or 2 per day is a reasonable amount that fits well into most calorie targets. Cottage cheese. Often overlooked, but one of the better protein foods available for fat loss. A 200-gram serving contains around 24 grams of protein, mostly from casein, which is a slow-digesting protein. This makes it particularly useful in the evening because it provides a steady release of amino acids while you sleep, helping to preserve muscle during the overnight fast. Maintaining muscle mass during fat loss is important because muscle is metabolically active tissue. The more muscle you preserve, the higher your resting metabolic rate stays, which means you burn more calories even at rest. Cottage cheese is also relatively low in calories and fat compared to many other dairy options, making it easy to fit into a calorie deficit without using up too much of your daily allowance. It works well on its own or mixed with fruit for a higher volume meal. Eating it before bed is a simple habit that can make a real difference in body composition over time. Avocado, a fruit that is high in fat but still fits well into a fat loss diet when used in the right amounts. Half an avocado has around 160 calories, 15 grams of fat, and about 5 grams of fiber. Most of that fat is oleic acid, the same monounsaturated fat found in olive oil. This type of fat supports cardiovascular health and has been shown to improve satiety signals in the brain. Feeling satisfied after eating is one of the most underestimated factors in fat loss. If you're constantly hungry, maintaining a calorie deficit becomes much harder. Avocado also slows the absorption of other nutrients eaten in the same meal, which helps stabilize blood sugar and reduce post-meal cravings. It provides potassium, folate, and several fat-soluble vitamins that support overall health during a calorie deficit. Use it as a topping, a spread, or a base for salads. The key is to be mindful of portion size since the calories add up quickly. Broccoli, a vegetable that stands out in a fat loss context because of how much volume it provides for very few calories. One full cup of cooked broccoli has only around 55 calories, but delivers about 4 grams of fiber and 4 grams of protein, which is unusually high for a vegetable. The fiber content is what makes it particularly useful. It slows digestion, increases meal volume, and supports a healthy gut, all of which contribute to better appetite control. Broccoli also contains compounds called glucosinolates, which support liver detoxification. A well-functioning liver is important for fat metabolism, as the liver is directly involved in processing and breaking down stored fat. It's also rich in vitamin C, which supports immune function and reduces oxidative stress that can increase during intense dieting. Because it has such a low-calorie density, you can eat a large portion of broccoli without making a significant dent in your daily calorie budget, which makes it an easy tool for managing hunger. Almonds is a small but calorie-dense food that still earns a place in a fat loss diet because of what it delivers nutritionally. A 30-gram handful has around 165 calories, 6 grams of protein, 3.5 grams of fiber, and a mix of healthy monosaturated and polyunsaturated fats. Research suggests that not all of those calories are actually absorbed, because some of the fat is trapped inside the almond cell structure and passes through digestion without being fully metabolized. The combination of protein, fiber, and fat makes almonds highly effective at reducing hunger between meals. They also contain magnesium, a mineral that plays a role in blood sugar regulation and is often low in people who struggle with cravings or energy crashes. The key with almonds is portion control. A handful is genuinely a good amount. Eating them straight from a large bag makes it easy to consume far more calories than intended. Portion them out in advance and use them as a planned snack rather than something to graze on freely. And one of the most practical for people managing a fat loss diet on a budget, a 100-gram serving of canned tuna in water has around 25 to 30 grams of protein and very few calories, usually under 130. That protein-to-calorie ratio is hard to match, particularly B12, which supports energy production and metabolic function. One thing to keep in mind is mercury content. Tuna does contain mercury, so eating it every single day is not recommended. 2 to 3 times per week is a reasonable and safe frequency for most people. Mixed with a small amount of olive oil, mustard, or eaten alongside vegetables, it becomes a fast, high-protein meal that takes almost no time to prepare. Sweet potato. A medium sweet potato has around 115 calories, 4 grams of fiber, and 2 grams of protein. Its glycemic response is moderate, especially when eaten with protein or fat, which slows digestion further and prevents the sharp insulin spike associated with refined carbohydrates. Sweet potatoes are also high in potassium, and in beta-carotene, a precursor to vitamin A that supports cellular health. For people who train regularly, having a quality carbohydrate source that replenishes muscle glycogen without excessive calorie intake is important. Sweet potatoes serve that purpose well. They also have a naturally sweet flavor that can help reduce cravings for processed sweets when included regularly in the diet. Bake or roast them simply and pair with a protein source to turn them into a balanced, satisfying meal that supports both performance and fat loss. If you want all these foods organized into a real plan built around your goal, the ebook in the description has everything laid out for you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.